Hi, it's Denny here. I'm from Master Teaching, and today I want to talk to you about leadership and what that looks like, what good leadership looks like, or let's say um, well thought out leadership and experienced leadership, what that looks like, and what the other sort might look like. So let's have a think about that for a start. So, in the beginning, I'd like to talk to you about how reflective you should be about the power of leadership. The power of leadership is not really, I think power is a very poor word for it because it's really about responsibility. The responsibility falls on you for leadership. And what is leadership? So when we're talking about leadership, it isn't something that we necessarily use all the time, and that magic wand or responsibility that you have is not something that you just use in a default position. So you may have experienced leadership positions, you may have not, you may be new to leadership, you might be. You might even be quite experienced, but you need to be reflective. And a reflective leader is actually a leader who can deliver. Now, the basis of good leadership is a high level of relational trust, and we talk about transparency. It's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, transparency. I like to talk about authenticity as well, because I think authenticity and transparency are a really good basis for trust. So, if we're talking about authenticity, and transparency, how much information should you give your staff and how much information should you withhold, and when and how should you do it? So, effectively, I think that a good experienced leader understands that the more information your staff's got, the better it is. The more open you are, the more transparent you are, the better it is. But the experienced leader also knows that the way that you hand out this information, the way you deliver the information, the way that you present the information is probably the most important part of the whole deal. So you've got to be selective, and you really need to have been considering the possible impact of what you're telling people. You have to consider the multitudinous ways in which it can impact people's work lives, relationships, collaboration, everything. So think about it from the point of view of all of those possibilities and more. The more is, for me, the optics of what you may be going to do. So these days, we're very much more into optics than we used to be. And the reason for that is because we understand that people interpret things from different perspectives. And when we see people behaving in a certain way, we use that to extrapolate more information. So I think it's quite important for new leaders to understand that people are not just getting their information from your words. Your actions will also speak volumes. So that's an important aspect of what I'm trying to tell you. So you find that experienced leaders choose their information. People who are not so experienced and perhaps need to have a little bit of a reflective time about this tend to hold back on as much information as they can and just let out little bits. It may be that they feel that is part of their power. They know something that somebody else doesn't know, which they can use later if necessary. It doesn't need to be in a negative way. It could be just that it's a protective thing that they're doing. It might be something that they're unaware of. If you are an experienced leader, you're pretty fearless about these things over time because you've seen a lot of situations evolve, and you know that this can lead to that, etc. You're always considering the consequences, and you're always considering what the potential is for you to do something else if you're looking at alternatives as well. All right, so that's important. Now, you will find also that experienced leaders and leaders who are, let's say, more successful, tend to be less product driven as performance driven. So they are looking at performance, they're looking at the results of that performance and how they can improve that, but they're not focused and sort of myopic about the failures of their staff. They recognise that there are things that are not great at times, and they're quite happy to say so. But they are not stumbling blocks so that people can't continue to try. Which is what you really want. We want growth from staff. We don't want staff to be paralysed by fear or whatever else you might think that you're able to muster here. So it's better not to be too focused on failures. Always evaluate, always review, always reflect, always do that in consultation with people involved, but perhaps not in a totally myopic way. Also, when you're goal setting from that, try not to set goals that are higher and higher. If someone is achieving well, let them achieve well and go wide. Look at the breadth first before you start setting higher goals. Don't just assume that that because someone is doing one thing that they can do everything else around that. It might be that they have some gaps, and they will know themselves when they're ready to move on. You need to have that conversation with people instead of assuming or making your own mind up. This is something that I notice greatly about leaders. Some leaders are more. They have made their mind up. Before they have any discussions with staff, they have got a theory or an idea in their mind, and it's very hard to shift them from that idea. Now, they may be wrong, and it's really important that as a leader, you can look at that. Am I wrong? Have I misjudged this? Is this something I need to resolve in a different way? So those are some bits of advice. And there are a number of more bits of advice that, not so much advice, but things that are noticeable. One of the things that has been pointed out, and I point out myself, is that good leaders are not totally focused on the power. They understand the politics of the position, but they are not the politics of the position. So they remove themselves from a political stance within the school or the organisation, and they don't become the micromanaging person who exudes a certain philosophy. They are open to ideas. If you're open to ideas, you're really open to ideas. You're not focused already and then trying to get everybody to think the way that you want them to think, because that's actually not what it's about. We need to build relational trust, and that's about truth, authenticity, and transparency. And if any of those things are going wrong, then everything's going wrong. If you need to build relational trust, which we do, then you need to build that to get respect, and you have to have respect and relational trust to have results. So it's a win-win situation, and I think that it's something that you need to look at. All right, those are a few gems for today, and I'm sure I'll have some more at some stage, and I hope you enjoyed this little whatever it was. Come back. See you later. Bye.